Today's show, we got a lot to talk about because it has been a very busy Friday already. The Packers trading for DK Metcalf, okay? It sure seems so. We've had a lot of news come out of the combine today, as is typical of this time of year, right? All the insiders are all together, hanging out, watching the players, do the Underwear Olympics and sharing information. And apparently, the Green Bay Packers are a team that is very interested in the Seattle wide receiver. Corbin Smith is originally the one to break the news with this tweet coming out at 9:28 a.m. today. So just a few hours ago. Wanted to wait till all the information was out to get you guys caught up. Let's go through his series of tweets. Okay, he started by saying, hearing through multiple sources that the Seahawks have spoken with a couple of teams about DK Metcalf's availability this week in Indianapolis. He went on to say, one team to keep close tabs on, and Brett, you can go ahead and go to that second tweet, is the Packers. A source indicated that they have had discussions with the Seahawks this week and have an offer on the table that includes a high pick and a young receiver on the roster to acquire Metcalf. Obvious connection to Schneider as well, who was with Green Bay in 2009 as the director of player operations. Corbin Smith went on to tweet saying that based on what I've heard, for Seahawks to move DK Metcalf, a trade would have to be structured to receive number 26, around that range of the first-round pick, and either Romeo Doubs or Dontarian Wicks in exchange for receiver and one of their early day 3 selections. Obviously, had the Wicks name wrong right there. Anything less than that is off the table. He went on to keep on going, saying per a league source, Packers have been open to the idea of moving first-round pick for DK Metcalf in part. As Peter Bukowski reported, they believe they can get a similar compensation back for cornerback Jair Alexander in a separate deal. Lots of moving parts here. He ended by clarifying, saying, just for clarification, the Packers aren't going to get a first for Jair Alexander. I poorly worded that tweet with the point being that they could get a day 2 selection from corner-needy teams, and that is why they may be more inclined and aggressive with that number 23 overall pick. That's a lot. We're going to break it all down coming up right now. But before that, I got to bring some attention to the NFC North sub-battle that's going on right now. Okay, this is the final day of February. If you didn't know, there's only 28 days in this month. March is tomorrow. That means this sub-battle is over tomorrow, okay? We currently are 7 subs behind Bears now. For you guys to help me out, help us prove that we're the best channel in the NFC North in this company, hit that sub button. Let's take down the Bears. We're already well past the Vikings and the Lions. Help us take down Chicago by hitting that sub button. Okay, so let's break it down. Basically, what they're saying is the Packers are willing to possibly trade for DK Metcalf, even though it would probably be a first-round pick and another wide receiver, because they believe that they'll get something semi-similar for Jair Alexander. Okay, so they're in pretty high spirits and high hopes that they'll get a day 2 pick for Jair, meaning it'll be either a second or a third rounder. Would love either of those two for a guy you're probably just going to eventually move on from anyway. So this is the possible trade, as I understand it from those series of tweets. The Packers would receive DK Metcalf and a 2025 fifth-round pick, like they said, and the third one would be a day 3, day 4, a day 3, early day 3 draft pick. And then the Seahawks would receive the 2025 first-round pick, which is number 23 overall, and Romeo Doubs or Wicks. I went ahead and just threw Doubs in there. I figured they'd probably want the better receiver out of the two. And now first initial reaction is, that's pretty high for me. Okay, I'm going to be honest. Giving up a first-rounder and one of your wide receivers who I still believe a lot of people have faith in, Romeo Doubs. He's only 24 years old. Sure, he had some drop issues this past year, was kind of in and out of the lineup, in and out of the starting rotation, but it's high for me. A first rounder and a receiver you get. I know you get DK Metcalf. I know you get something else in return in around a 5th round pick, but still, anytime you're giving up your first, you're going to have a little bit of pause. Now, DK Metcalf has had a very impressive career, especially these last 4 seasons for the Seattle Seahawks. He only played in 15 games this past year and was really believed to be injured through the entirety of it, yet had 992 yards, 5 touchdowns, 66 catches. Would have led every receiver in yards and receptions, I believe, this past season. And then you look at the two prior to that, 1,100 in 2023, 1,000 in 2022, just under 1,000 in 2021. He's yet to go under 900 yards in a single season. And when you look at this wide receiver room that Green Bay has with Jayden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, I'm going to say the same thing that we've been talking about all offseason. What do you see there? You see a lot of wide receiver twos. And if you get DK Metcalf in the building and you get DK Metcalf in Green Bay, he is your undeniable wide receiver one. Okay, that's just who he is. And that's just who he would be in this wide receiver room. Because when you look at how their years went in this past 2024 NFL season, nothing crazy, man. 46 catches for Doubs, 601 yards. 29 catches for Watson, 620. Man, I know he was in and out of the lineup with injuries. If he would have been there, if he would have been healthy, I know he would have had a fantastic season. His yards per catch was off the charts. Then you look at Jayden Reed, best season of anybody, and it was still worse than what DK Metcalf did in only 15 games, okay? And so it's really, really intriguing. Speaking of that trade, what would you do? Would you accept that trade? Packers get DK Metcalf and a fifth. Seahawks get your first. They also get Romeo Doubs. Let me know in the comment section down below by giving me an A for accept, and if you don't want it, give me a D for decline. So the thing about the DK Metcalf trade is it's not just the assets you'd have to give up to get him, right? Not just the first rounder and Doubs or Wicks. You'd have to pay him too. Okay, and these days, I don't know if you've looked at the numbers. Receivers are making a good bit of money, okay? Now, he wouldn't be up there in the number 1 or number 2 range. He's not going to ask for Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb money. But I wouldn't be surprised if he asked for more than Amon-Ra St. Brown and just about what A.J. Brown is getting, okay? And putting him squarely in that top 5. I would expect he wants around $32 million a year. Okay, anywhere from 30.5 to 32 is kind of where I see him sitting at. And you might have a little bit of slight pause originally when hearing that number. But if he's a need, and if he could come in here year one and get you to a point where you believe this team can win a Super Bowl, then you have to think about it. Now, if Green Bay trades for Metcalf, this is kind of how I would do it, okay? Metcalf gets a 2-year extension, new contract, $97 million, 3 years, $85 million guaranteed. And the deal would be structured a little bit like A.J. Brown's, in my opinion, okay? Because his deal was 3 years, $96 million, with $84 million guaranteed. Now, I'm going to show you what they're doing with his cap hits, okay? This is what I would do. They are stacking it more towards the back end, okay? $11.8 million cap hit in 2024. Then that jumps up to $17.6 in 2025, $23.5 in 2026, and so on and so forth. Obviously, you're not going to sign him as long as they did A.J. Brown, but I think you structure it similarly. Because just like we talked about a couple weeks ago, right? The salary cap, because of the new Nielsen ratings, because now they are measuring streaming services like YouTube TV, like the Sunday Ticket, the salary cap is only expected to boom more over the years. And so if you have a backloaded contract, by the time you get there, your salary cap is naturally going to be bigger. It's not going to hurt you as much. And when you look at the potential for these offensive weapons in this offense, man, with DK Metcalf added in there, it is scary. You got Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, DK, Tucker Kraft, Jayden Reed, Christian Watson. When he gets back from injury, eventually probably around November, and then not to mention 2 of the best tackles in the game. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. If you're selling me on this team competing for a Super Bowl with a healthy Jordan Love in 2025, and you show me that lineup, I'm sold, okay? So my take on this, what I would do if I was Goody, I'd counter with Romeo Doubs in a second. Okay, that would be my counter. And if they say no, then honestly, I'd have to think on it. Okay, I'm not saying I'd say no 100%, But I'm just saying I'd have to think a little bit more if I'm willing to give up that one because you have to restructure him and then pay him that money, okay? The interesting thing to look at, though, is when you look at the Packers' biggest needs. It's pass rusher, wide receiver, cornerback. Okay, cornerback might move up a little bit over wide receiver once and if Jair Alexander is traded. So when I look at those three, pass rusher, wide receiver, cornerback, in my opinion, cornerback and edge can be easier. Like it's easier to figure those two positions out in the draft and in free agency, okay? We've talked a lot about how great the cornerback free agents are with DJ Reed, Charvarius Ward. Also with Josh Sweat, Khalil Mack with the edge rushers. And then when you look at the second round, which is if you give up the first, that's where you'd be picking, you can still find a really good edge rusher there. So if you trade for DK Metcalf, sign him to this new extension, get DJ Reed in free agency, and then get an edge rusher in the second round, I'd be all good with it, okay? There's a lot that you'd have to do, a lot you'd have to still kind of move around with the money aspect of it, but right now, this team still has $43 million, okay? So there's a lot to change. Let me know, should the Packers trade for DK Metcalf? Give me a yes, give me a no in the comment section down below. I want to hear your answer. I'm saying yes. Okay, let's just do it. Let's go all in. You let me know down below. Thanks so much for watching. I know it was a little bit of a longer video today. There was a ton to talk about. If you guys love this channel, if you guys love this team, make sure to share this video with your friends so we can get this one out to as many people as possible. Try to grow the channel. And if you're still here, it's obvious you liked it. If you haven't subbed yet, what are you doing? Hit that sub button.